So we had this pattern that we try to listen to a movie on the home theater, something would go wrong with the stereo, and then my wife knew, oh no, here he goes. He's going to spend an hour trying to figure this out, pull wires out, and he's going to start cursing again. And all we want. I went into ChatGPT, our favorite assistant so far, and asked it, what are the top challenges reported by neurodivergent couples on the spectrum in marriage, family, or in long-term relationships? And what it also gave me is common quotes, common complaints that a couples counselor might hear. And it's split into what a male autistic partner might report and what a female autistic partner might report. And I'll go through them and show you, I mean, relate them to my experience of my marriage and what happened and why, again, why I feel I want to hone our focus and who our target audience is to neurodivergent couples in marriages and families and long-term relationships. So one thing, common things that an autistic male partner often report is, I don't know how to make her feel loved. I mean, the way that I would put it is, one, I don't know what she's feeling because we have a hard time. Autistic people have a hard time generally knowing what another person feels. It's hard for us to read faces. Lots of times in conversations, I can do this now. I'm looking at the camera. I'm looking right at the camera. And another feature of autistic people, especially in conversation, is we don't look at you in the eyes. So when I'm with like on Zoom with somebody and I'm trying to make a point and talk, I'm like this. You probably notice that sometimes. My eyes are all over the place, especially if I was actually seeing another face in front of me. When I lock into somebody's eyes, my mind, especially in that situation, can only do one thing at a time, and it gets too like emotions come up or something. The way I put it is like when I lock into somebody's eyes, I can't quite talk because I feel like they're staring into my very soul. That's sort of like the way I feel about it. So I can't look at you in the eyes. I'm also looking all around. This was causing a problem because I wasn't paying attention to how she was, her face and how my wife's face was looking. I couldn't tell if she was upset because lots of times, half the time, I wasn't even looking at it and stuff. And I had no idea that that was a feature of being on the spectrum. She just thought, you're rude. And worse, you don't care about me enough to pay attention to me and how I am feeling because you're not even looking at me. I mean, she would take it all personally, and I had no idea, one, that I was doing it, and two, that she was taking it personally. So I don't know how to make her feel loved or how she feels. Totally. Um, the ADHD and the autism together creates a lot of executive functioning issues, meaning I learn by doing the wrong thing first. So if you gave me like instructions on how to put a lighting fixture up and it had like a 15 steps to it, I would probably have to do each step over at least once, maybe three times. And so if on the instruction manual it said this will only take 20 minutes, it would take me an hour and a half. And not only that, so the executive functioning causes this kind of reading problem where my mind just jumps ahead, maybe doesn't even read the second sentence of the instruction and just assumes, oh, this goes into that part and it looks like it should fit. And I just do it. And then I realize I put the whole thing on backwards. But I only know that I only know to learn when I do the wrong thing first. So I'm taking it apart and stuff. And so if that's just putting up a lighting fixture, and I should say on top of that, because of the sensitive nervous system and the autism and stuff, now I'm getting ticked because I read this should take 20 minutes and now it's going over an hour. And so this is what constantly my poor ex had to hear in just me putting up a simple lighting fixture. You should have seen me when I was actually trying to retile the kitchen backsplash. And that YouTube video that took only 17 minutes said, oh, you can do this in a weekend. Yeah, it took me 5 days. And by the end of it, with my autistic fits, I was saying like if I were to do this again, I would kill myself. I was saying stuff like that. And of course, my ex, who had already heard this for years and years, just roll her eyes and she said, like, I don't want you to do this anymore. I don't, something like tiling a kitchen backsplash had now turned into a traumatic event for both of us. So the quote, everything I do seems to be wrong. That's another thing. Yeah, In a way, you could say I was. And so that one, um, here's another quote that autistic male partners often report. I need space, but she says I'm shutting her out. So I don't know if it's an ADHD autistic thing or both. We tend to hyper focus on a project to the point where we almost can't even hear what another person's saying, and we can get stuck on it for hours. And then we have our little interests that take up all our time, like me with my stereo. So we had this pattern that we try to listen to a movie on the home theater. Something would go wrong with the stereo, and then my wife knew. Oh no, here he goes. He's going to spend an hour trying to figure this out, pull wires out, and he's going to start cursing again. And all we wanted to do was watch a movie tonight. And she knew. And I wouldn't be able to stop it. Once my anxiety hit, if I tried to pull away from that stereo and try to do something else, I would end up with a massive headache because my whatever neurodivergent hyperfocusing would be still on the stereo, and I'm trying to do something else to be with the family, and I end with a massive clenching headache. I don't get those anymore. Why? Because she's not here. And so something goes wrong with my stereo, I can spend 5 hours at it if I wanted to. And I have spent sometimes all night trying to fiddle with my stereo when one small thing goes wrong with it. Ask my daughter and stuff. So the hyper focusing. So I need space, but she says I'm shutting her out. Totally. Um, I can't keep up with the demands of daily life, again, because of the executive functioning and the ADHD distractedness. Yes, I could do things, but they're all done sloppily. I heard that women are better at multitasking. I could tell you I wasn't good at multitasking. Me multitasking was doing several things poorly. That's me multitasking. You do not really want to see me multitasking because I would be doing five things and none of them right. I couldn't even do one thing. I'd have to hyper focus on that one thing and still get it wrong several times before I got it right. So throw five things in there, forget about it. Sometimes that does happen though. I'm trying to like do several things at the same time. You'll see my body like bounce back and forth in the hallway like a pinball machine because I'm trying to do one thing, then I see another, and then another. And so I can't keep up with the demands of daily life totally. And then, of course, when your ex, who's so routine oriented, because they may be on the spectrum, and when you're on the spectrum, you prize your logic. I mean, you really in your head. I was in my head a lot. You really try to analyze and overanalyze things, and you prize your logic a lot. Why? Here's a little secret that I didn't know. Because overemphasizing your logic as a neurodivergent person helps to calm the emotions down. You know, so we saw a Star Trek episode in which the humans were given this serum to become like Mr. Spock. A lot of people hated it. But what I saw was it was a satire of people on the spectrum that their emotions were so strong, like Mr. Spock had to explain, we're not logical like this because, we're just naturally unemotional. We're logical because we're too emotional, and we use our logic to calm the emotions down. And when he said that, I was like, that's me. And that was her. I knew that we were both incredibly emotional, but we would tamp it down with this logical system that we had. And as a result of that, though, we would always criticize each other for it. We would stay in our heads a lot, and we wouldn't know what we're feeling half the time because our logical analyzing minds, which would tamp the emotions down, was keeping us from our feelings. So you see all these problems that neurodivergent couples can have. It is amazing. I mean, there are no empirical studies that show that, that we get divorced more often. And so there is not, you really can't say that we do, but my goodness. And again, you might say, well, everybody has that. I do that. I don't think I'm on the spectrum. Two things. One, sometimes people who are undiagnosed, and I could see that they're undiagnosed, and they say, well, I do that. Doesn't everybody do that? No, you do that because you're on the spectrum like me. You just don't even realize it yet. I have friends like that. Yeah. Or if you're not on the spectrum, well, I do that. Well, it happens to us like 5 times more emotionally intense and 10 times more. And so again, being neurodivergent is more a diagnosis of intensity and regularity compared to average people. Yes, average people have what we have, but not to this intensity and regularity that we have. So that's sort of like saying, oh, you're an alcoholic? I have a drink. Maybe I'm an alcoholic too. No. If you don't drink as intensely as I do and drink as much as I do, that doesn't make an alcoholic. It's sort of like that. So let's see. Again, try to fix problems. I was trying to fix problems because I just wanted her to calm down because I was autistic people I think do this a lot. We trigger each other's emotions. And so in a way we're sort of saying like, calm down, you're freaking me out is sort of what you're saying when you're trying to help the other person. We like immediately try to help the other person and we try to manage their emotions. Why? Because their emotions are triggering ours. And so in a way, subconsciously, what we are saying is, will you stop that? You're freaking me out. And so, I would always try to be fixing her problems because I was trying to manage her emotions because she would trigger mine, when she just wanted me to listen. Um, so that was my stuff. These are Next list is what autistic females partners often report. He doesn't notice how I'm feeling. I already explained that. Totally true here. Apologize. I have to do everything. Again, totally true. My executive functioning, ADHD, and the PTSD would make my emotions so strong. So whenever she would complain, I would get defensive. I totally understood why in the end she didn't even want to go to therapy with me because I would just get defensive and try to overanalyze things and use my logical mind to like justify all the crap that I was doing. And she got sick of it, which is why, she didn't want to go to therapy at the end of it. And a lot of people like us who, we have partners like that. They don't want to go to therapy with us anymore because we overanalyze things and don't take responsibility. And so when they say, I need help with this, this, and this, we get defensive. So I have to do everything, she said. Yeah, that's true. He withdraws and leaves me alone when I need him the most. That was true with me when I got hyper focused on my little things, my projects and all. I would have no idea what was going on with her, how she's feeling. And sometimes I wouldn't even hear her calling from the top of the basement and stuff. He takes everything so literally. That's a feature of autism, taking things very, very literally. Um, Not being able to tell sarcasm, not being able to tell when like taking things personally when someone's just sort of making a joke. We're also very gullible. Um, I love this one. I feel more like his mother than his partner. That was totally me. In the end, she felt like she was mothering me, or as she put it, I am carrying your ass. Yeah, and I could totally see that. My executive functioning and my emotional overwhelm, like I did not realize that everything that I had wanted as a younger person, I had a marriage, a house, a kid, a career that any average American would want, would cause me to go into a stress-filled autistic burnout in which my brain, my autistic brain, my neurodivergent brain said, no mas, cried uncle, and started to shut down. And so I had no idea that my dreams was going to cause this autistic burnout in me. And so in the end, I wasn't able to help, and she was mothering me. And that's the way she felt. Like she was taking care of me totally. All I had to do was just work. And then when I got fired from my job, that was it. It was over. And she asked for a divorce, and I lost my job on the same weekend. That happened to be my 50th birthday, by the way. I already said that in another video. Um, he never apologizes or reflects. True, because again, our emotions are so strong. One of the emotions that people on the spectrum feel the strongest is self-loathing and rejection sensitivity. We take things really, really personally. Like I said, rejection sensitivity, I said in another video, it feels like a slap in the face. And all the person said was, that's not my favorite Star Wars movie. Or, I don't like Star Wars movie. That's even worse. You might as well have punched me if you had said that one. Um, but I had heard things from other people around the spectrum, criticizing the quality of the produce you bring back from the grocery. You should have gotten a fresher avocado, and all of a sudden that turns into a fight and stuff because the person has rejection sensitivity. You criticizing my choice of produce has become a criticism of me, and that's the way you sound, and that's the way it feels inside. Um, and then the sad thing that happens is you emotionally withdraw. It gets to the point where you you tick each other off, or you probe each other's emotional soft spots so much that you don't even want to interact. And that's what was happening with us. And so another comment is here is I feel lonely even though we live together. And here's the sad thing. I'll be honest. So my house was filled with a lot of ups and downs and violence when I was growing up. And so just two people hanging around the same house and not talking was quite an improvement. We weren't hitting each other. We weren't being violent with each other. I wasn't ending up being smacked or bruised once a week like I was when I was growing up. So that was progress to me. And so I thought we're peaceful. But then later on, after she did leave, and I was talking to my daughter, and we were saying, and I was trying to analyze what is mom like when she's angry? Well, she curses, and I think what she does, she has this. And then my daughter said, Dad, don't you realize what mom does when she's angry? No, what? She doesn't talk to you. And I was like, oh, that's what she was doing for the last 4 years of our marriage. I was just thinking that was a good thing because we weren't getting to fisticuffs like I was when I was growing up. Like I had totally missed that one, so the whole I feel lonely even though we live together. And again, I'd be incredibly surprised if statistics empirically show that, couples who are neurodivergent on the spectrum who also don't even realize that like that are not divorced at a higher rate and stuff. Like these are just like a sampling of the problems that we would have. And here's the thing that the Resolve protocol really, really, really helps with all of this that I just mentioned. It mainly becomes a problem when your emotions are too intense. All of the things that I just mentioned there, you know, um, not putting instructions together properly, having your partner get mad because you're not contributing enough, um, getting hyper focused on things. All of that, really, when you think about it, if the person isn't getting as emotionally upset, the intensity of the problem goes down with the emotion, doesn't it? You might still have these quirks, but if you don't have the ability to get as pissed off because your emotions are resolved, you resolved a lot of your core, even traumatic emotions in there. And that's what happened here. I would still have discussions with my daughter, and she'd still say things that in the past would have really triggered me. Disrespectful, you don't care about me, you don't like spending time. All this stuff would come out of my mouth. It never did. The most I would ever do is just sort of look at her and cock my head. Why? Because all of the emotions behind those kinds of neurodivergent thoughts was gone, or like 90% less from doing this protocol, these types of emotional resolution protocols. Now, that being said, a few things. This is just a meditation protocol for feeling your feelings. It doesn't make up for neurochemical imbalances, so I'm still on psych meds. It doesn't make up for like serotonin imbalances, things like that. Um, it doesn't make up for, just the way an autistic body might get overwhelmed very quickly. Maybe I don't get as upset, but this body still gets overwhelmed and stuff. So I still have to watch my time, how much I'm putting into my day, how many tasks or chores am I doing in a short period of time. I still have to watch that. The main difference is there's not a lot of self-berating self-talk in there. Me putting down myself, me hating myself, me yelling at myself. Once the stress goes down, it stays down, and I don't hear those voices anymore. Before I would hear them all the time, and the only way I can get rid of them was to drink or wait till the next day. Now, the autistic emotional event happens, goes down, and nothing. I'm just sort of left in this kind of peaceful consciousness, pretty much. Stuff. You know, Especially in my relationship with my daughter. You'd think after having this disaster of relationship in the marriage, the same thing would happen there, but no. I mean, She's not on here, and she never is. She makes it a point not to come on here. So I think I feel safe in saying, I think we have a pretty good relationship emotionally. She calls me and talks to me about stuff. So